have no idea if this is on or not. No idea what's going on. This might be live, I'm not sure. If it is, welcome. I'm just testing new video hardware and I don't know. I don't know if it's working. Yeah, I've been struggling with this all afternoon. So if it's working, I guess, yay me. If it's not working, well, I don't know. I don't even know how to know if it's working. No idea what's going on. This might be live, I'm not sure. If it is, welcome. I'm just testing new video. I think it's live. If you're watching, hey. I didn't have any content in mind for this. I was just testing a new hardware interface because I want to try live streaming using my Sony Handycam instead of the junky webcam I have on my laptop. So we're doing this. If you want to jump on the... Oh, Pat! You're on! It's live! Hey, Pat. Thank you for bearing with my struggles. I have no idea what's going on. This has been way more confusing than I thought it should be. And I don't think I'm 100% yet. I'm just kind of learning it as I go. But thanks for hopping in. Well, thank you, Pat. I'm flattered. I have oh no, I had bread baking in the oven. I just took that out. We're good there. In about 45 minutes, I got to make some pasta for dinner. So, making sausage ravioli from scratch. It might be a disaster. So I'm just kind of poking around just to see what the capabilities are of this software and new software and hardware that I'm using. Thanks, Rail9222. I appreciate it. I need the feedback because I have no idea what this actually looks like. I'm kind of confused because I'm using software called OBS Studio, and I've interfaced my Sony Handycam that I normally shoot my YouTube videos on. And I'm just trying to see how to get that all working with feeding the stream into YouTube. Not really sure how it works yet. I'm still kind of struggling with the chat function, and it took me, I don't know, just 2 or 3 hours on and off working on it to get the hardware interface correctly. So I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go here. So bear with me as I continue to look at this. If you guys have any tips, just chime on in. Thanks, Pat. Glad it looks good. This is using my normal video camera. I think the resolution and the clarity is way better than the webcam that I have on the laptop that I use, or the tablet rather. Because what happened was, years ago, the cat must have knocked the tablet over and put a crack in the screen that goes right across the camera lens. So the clarity is not quite what it should be. You can see some lens flare with the lighting, and it's not the greatest quality in the world. I think this is working out better, but I just don't know what else I'm doing. Like, I don't know if I can have guests join me on this or not. I have no idea how that works because I can't interface my software with StreamYard, which I wanted to do, but StreamYard isn't a choice. They have, like, I don't know, dozens and dozens of third-party streaming services that I can interface this software with, but StreamYard is not one of them. So I don't know if that means that I have to find a different streaming software, but I finally figured out how this works. No, I am not going to do green screen backgrounds, Pat. That's absolutely not in my thing. I refuse to do that. Of course, this could be a green screen back here that looks like my home office / living room. But it's not. I agree with you. I think they look cheesy. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate the input and the compliment. I really wish I knew if I could invite guests like we do on StreamYard with the panels, because I would like to do that. And I think the only chat interface is the one that I have with YouTube. Although OBS has a chat function, but I don't think I can type in it. I mean, it's got its own little window. It breaks it out into a sidebar. and I don't know that I can actually type anything there. Looks like I can only type it in the YouTube chat. So I don't know what that means for moderating anything, if I have to. I have no idea. We're learning it as we go. So, yeah, we're... the learning never stops here. Did you guys do anything this weekend, or how's your Saturday shaping up? Pat and Rail and anyone else who's watching in the chat. Somehow we have 8 people watching right now. That's going to be 8 very disappointed people. But chime on in with what you're doing this weekend. As I continue to kind of work out the kinks here, I'll do it as we go. Not such a bad idea to have a chat going, I guess, while we do this. I'm just kind of messing around with between the YouTube interface I have on one screen here and the OBS studio software that I have on another screen down here. I'm just kind of bopping back and forth, so forgive me if it looks like I'm not paying attention. And then I have the camera like right here, so I have 2 screens and a camera. It's more confusing than it needs to be, but there it is. We're just figuring it out as we go. So this is my Saturday, trying to figure out my video stuff and baking bread, and gonna make some homemade ravioli for dinner. How about you guys? What do you got going on? Anything fun? Thanks, Pat. I'll reach out to Destroyer 1320 because there's a lot of different options that you can configure with OBS, and I was kind of surprised that for a free piece of software, it's as sophisticated as it is. How's the audio sound, by the way, guys? Is it pretty clear? Does it sound like I'm fairly close to the mic? Because I want to make sure that sounds okay too. Because one of the things I wasn't happy about with the tablet I was using was obviously there's some distance from the microphone, but I got a small shotgun mic on the top of the camera, so I hope it sounds clear. What ISP to use, Pat? We have Spectrum, and they're terrible, especially their television service. It's dicey at best. We have had a lot of downtime, but of course they don't put an uptime guarantee on their service, so we just kind of it's the only option we have because we're a little removed from the city, so they're the only service that actually runs out here, so we're kind of stuck with them. Rail 9222, man, I hear you. I have also been very discouraged from doing a bunch of things that I have to get done, especially because here in Central Texas it's in the hundreds right now, so it's kind of hot, which only encourages me to stay inside where the AC is. So that's what I've been doing. So I figure I'll bang out some stuff I have to work on, and I have some stuff on my workbench I have to get done. I was doing some mods to a rifle and a shotgun for a customer, and I've just got to get it done. I've had the parts sitting there for about a week or so, and just haven't made the time to do it. Well, the struggle's real, Pat. I mean, their ISPs are notoriously bad. I've never worked with one that I ever thought was good. Except years ago when I lived in New Hampshire, we had satellite through DirecTV, and actually their service was very good. I thought it was oddly reliable given that we were in the middle of nowhere and you have to face the dish south. And to get the dish pointed in the right direction, it had to clear a bunch of trees because they're up in the woods. And the only way that they could get the correct angle was, imagine like the roof of the house is pitched, right? And if they put it, and we had like trees over here, so if they put it here, it wouldn't clear the trees. So they actually had to put a satellite dish on the back side of the roof and shoot it this way. So it just like skimmed over the top of the house in order to clear the trees. And the only time we had trouble is if it snowed so much that it covered the dish. I just had to go up there with a broom and knock the snow off. Other than that, it was really reliable. That was the only consistently good service we ever had. Yeah, it's 170 euro, man. It's a rough day when it's that hot. And you just hope that the AC stays working in the house, because it's working overtime for sure. So I know there's going to be some dead air here while I try to tweak OBS Studio and do the chat at the same time. What kind of trucks are you backing up, Robert? Oh, Joe, that's not good. If do you live and work in a place where there's a lot of attic mounted units? Because here in Central Texas, everybody's units are mounted in their attics, and God help you if you got to go up there now, because it's got to be 130 plus in the attics, especially because just such lightweight construction down here. So many houses have metal roofs that it just transfers the heat right into the attic, and it's brutal. So I don't envy anybody who's got to do what you do. Those are some big trucks, Robert. How many did you have to move? Well, I don't envy you, Robert. That's trying to get it done outside is rough. So if anyone's just joined us on the live stream, welcome. I'm accidentally doing this live stream because what I'm trying to accomplish is setting up some new software on my computer so I can interface my external camera that I normally shoot my videos on. And I thought I was doing a private, well, I thought I was doing a test that wasn't going live, but then I realized if I don't choose the option to make this a public live stream, I have no idea how to see it, because I tried it on the private setting, I tried it on the unlisted setting, but I can't see the feed. So this way I can at least see it on one of my monitors that has my YouTube channel on. I can at least see the stream. So I know it's working. I just don't know entirely how well. So I'm asking for people's feedback. Joe, Robert, and Pat have been here. Rail 9222 has been here for a few minutes anyway. So thanks for stopping in. If you're just clicking on it now, but I didn't have any topics planned. This was really just an impromptu test, and it's nice to see that it's working. My goal here is to understand a bit about how it actually works with the sidebar chat and the software that I've got hooked up. And I'm still trying to learn things like, can I invite panelists to join? Can I interface with the chat function in the software as opposed to the one in YouTube, or how does that all work? I don't really know. So we weren't discussing any topics in particular. You chat about your weekend, anything that you're doing, if you're sweating it out outside or if you're just hanging out inside or whatever you want to do. Hey, Chris, what's up with you, bud? Thanks for stopping in. So we got a little bit of everything happening right now. Just kind of free-forming it. Once I realized we were accidentally live. But then Pat Paulsen was kind enough to let me know that he was seeing it, and then a bunch of other folks are jumping on, so it's good to see everyone. And again, if you just tuned in, lower your expectations. Because it's going to be a disaster here. I'm just accidentally streaming trying out some new software and hardware here. So if I'm not paying 100% attention, it's because I'm working through trying to learn this new setup as I go. So you're welcome to bring up any topics of conversation if you want. Happy to indulge you. Yeah, Pat, OBS is strangely powerful for what I'm seeing here. And there's a lot of different parameters that you can set. It took me a while to realize how to get the audio stream ported over to YouTube, because the way they set it up like a television studio where there's a preview screen on one side, and that shows you your source audio or different sources of audio. And then there's a program side, so you can choose, like let's say you're doing a multi-camera shoot, right? If you have, like in a TV studio, let's say they got 3 cameras set up in the studio, and then in the control booth they have their program monitor. Well, they're looking at all 3 of the previews, and they're choosing which one to broadcast. And OBS is set up like that. It does not tell you, however, how to move your preview video over to your program video. So I just had to click on everything I could see to find out how to do that. So now I'm doing that. Otherwise, you just get a black screen, and you still get audio, I think. So that's where I am with that. And then you can resize things and make sure you match your source output for your video resolution. And it's more complicated than I'd like it to be. I wish they had like an idiot mode where you could just hit a button and presto change it, off you go. But you got to do a little bit of work up front. Thanks, Miguel. Nice to see you, pal. It's not easy, that's for sure. There's a lot to juggle. Luckily, we don't have a ton of people on right now, but there's 13 watching right now. So if you just started watching, thanks for showing up. I am accidentally streaming this while I test out some new hardware and software. So no topics of conversation. Just bring up anything that you want to talk about while we work through this on my end, where I'm just trying to figure out how the chat works, how my video interface works, how I get the streaming thing going, and what the options are. So I'm just kind of working through it. If anyone's used OBS Studio, that's what I'm using for this right now. I don't know if there's a better one out there. This one was a freebie, so I saw it recommended through some other people that have done this. So I'm just kind of poking around with it and learning it as I go. I don't know how long we'll stay on for tonight, but while we're all here, it's nice that you guys are jumping in the chat. I appreciate that. Oh, Pat, about adding a guest, Skype or Discord or something, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so that would give me something to explore for bringing in a separate stream, I guess, into, I'm assuming, go into OBS. Because the way they do this is a little confusing. I'm not sure if I need to have a YouTube stream set up, and you see the way they do it is you set up. Well, I don't know how you do it yet. I'm still playing around. There's an option in YouTube though to create a stream, right? And from there you can connect your YouTube account to OBS Studio in this case, which is my streaming software. And it just kind of, I guess, they talk and sends the stream over to YouTube, and YouTube puts it up. But I'm not sure if that's what's actually happening. Because when I look at the screen for my YouTube stream, nothing's going on. And that's in a separate tab, that's in a separate stream. It's in the YouTube Studio function of YouTube. If I look at my channel page, it's streaming right now. So I don't really understand what's going on. Can I disconnect that studio page that's got the live stream? Or is it just using some background process for the OBS studio? I don't know. Justin Chang asks, how do I find local independent tool trucks around my area? I've tried Google searching without any success. That's a challenge, Justin. And the reason it's so challenging is because independent guys are truly independent. There isn't an organization that we all belong to. There isn't any kind of information sharing that we can do through like a third-party service, which might keep a listing of independent tool guys. How we advertise and how we make it known that we're in business is entirely up to the individual. So it's kind of difficult because there isn't one way that I know of where you can find that out. A lot of guys in this business are content to just get on their truck every day, get out there and see their customers, and then go back home. And other guys, kind of like myself, want to have a bit of a higher profile because we like to grow the business, but not everyone is doing that. So how you find those guys, man, I wish I could tell you. It's tough. The best thing I can tell you is if you work in a shop, if you're a tech, see if you can ask around. See if you know anybody who's used any other tool trucks, any independent ones for that matter, and see if there's any information out there for you. At Rail 9222, I was playing around with StreamYard to see what the possibilities were because I'm not happy with the camera and microphone on my tablet that I've been using with StreamYard because there's a crack across the lens on the camera and the microphone's not so hot. So I wanted to see if I could interface my Sony Handycam, which I use to record my YouTube videos. But StreamYard does not recognize my camera for some reason, even though Windows recognizes it and Windows sets it up as a device, and I specify that device in StreamYard, it simply doesn't get any video signal from it. I would love to use StreamYard's functionality because it's very easy to use and it's pretty powerful. So I'm just trying, and I might wind up going back to that, I don't know. I'm just trying to see if there's a way to use a better hardware and software setup with live streaming and get the functionality that I'm looking for out of it. I get you, Pat. I get you. That makes perfect sense. Justin, I didn't update the drivers on anything yet. I had some difficulty getting Windows to recognize it because the way I'm setting it up is I have a tablet which has one USB port and all the other devices that I hook up because I have a receipt printer and a second monitor and a barcode scanner because this is my home office. So I have all that stuff set up using a USB hub. And originally when I plugged the camera into the hub, Windows did not recognize it. So I plugged it directly into the tablet. Windows recognized it, but the problem is then I couldn't use my wireless keyboard and mouse and everything else because the transponder for that was in the USB hub. So I'm messing around with that for a while and getting frustrated. And then I decided, well, now that Windows has recognized it, maybe I can go back to using the USB hub, which I did. And now that works, so I can get full functionality out of all my devices, keyboard, mouse, camera, 2 monitors, and everything looks like it's working as far as that's concerned. But I don't know if changing the driver would affect how StreamYard sees it. I will try that. Thank you for the suggestion. Pat, about the quality on the camera, I put it down to 720p, and I don't know if I have to go lower than that. I might have to. That's another very good suggestion. I can kind of do that while we're talking about it right now, I guess. I mean, I assume it could look at multiple sources. I don't know. But the lowest resolution that the camera will go to is 720. And that's what I have it set to. And if I go into StreamYard, well, I mean, let's see. So I'm trying different definitions in StreamYard. I don't know if that's going to... I don't know if I have to have that match what I have the camera set to, or if this can bump it down. Like if I send a 720p signal to StreamYard, yet I choose a different resolution, will that bump it down, or does it have to match? I don't know. But then when I'm looking at the general tab in settings on StreamYard, I only have two options for broadcast quality. One's 1080p and the other 720. So I can't choose a different resolution on the broadcast quality setting, but I can for the camera resolution setting under the camera tab, if that makes sense. I don't know why they would do that. Seems like if they're going to offer a lower resolution on the camera properties tab, then they would have a similar resolution for your broadcast quality. I don't know. I don't know. The learning never stops. My refresh frequency is 60. Yeah, Justin, my tablet does have a built-in webcam, and I know that StreamYard does recognize that because I've used that in the past. But I'm trying to get away from that because there's a crack that goes across the lens of the camera on the screen, and the microphone isn't the greatest quality. So I'm just trying to upgrade a little bit. And if this doesn't work out the way I'm hoping, I'll go back to using StreamYard, I guess. And maybe trying to find a way to interface my camera with that, but it wasn't working earlier, so I don't really know what's going on with it. Ed might be a very good resource, Pat. If I'm struggling too much with this, I'll give him a holler and see if he has any suggestions for me, because I believe he has a similar setup, because he's got a separate camera and he's got a nice studio quality mic. I also have a nice mic. I don't know how to interface that either, but if the mic on the camera's working right now, because I have a little shotgun mic on here, which seems to do pretty well. But I also have a clip-on lavalier mic, but they're cordless, so I'd probably just run the battery down on that. Hey, Fives, what's going on? Great to see you. Thanks for coming on board. If you have just joined us, this is an accidental live stream. I'm testing some new software to interface my regular camera equipment that I shoot my videos with, hoping to upgrade my quality. And I didn't know how to do this without actually going live. So we're live. Thanks for stopping in. We're not really talking about anything in particular except the struggles I'm having with my setup, and anything that you've done with your weekend that you want to share, feel free. I'm juggling a bunch of things with trying to look at how my software and video set up, and as well as the sidebar chat. So keep the comments coming. I don't know how long we're going to do this for, but hey, we'll hang out and have some fun for a little bit. Thanks, Justin. I'm glad the mic sounds that good. I didn't know if it made sense to try to interface my studio mic or just leave this the way it is. When I shoot videos with this, it's been a little dicey because you have two settings on this mic. It has two elements, a front-facing element and a rear-facing element. And there's a little switch on it to choose which element you want. You can either just shoot with the front element or shoot with both elements. You don't have the option to shoot just with the rear element. And it sounds way better when you just have the front one chosen, because if you choose both elements, it splits the stereo signal so that the front element comes out in the left channel and the rear element comes out in the right. I don't like that because then it actually drops the overall audio level, and I'm not a big fan of that. I thought it'd be great while I'm doing, say, a handheld. If if you look at any of the, most of the videos that I shoot are handheld, and I've got both elements activated on the microphone, so that if I spin the camera around, it doesn't drop out because the front element's rather directional on this. But I haven't been too happy with that either, so I moved away from using this all the time to using some clip-on lavalier mics, which I think work better. But for something like this, for this application here where I have it set up, I like the shotgun mic idea, assuming that works great. So to repeat again for you, Justin, how I've got this setup going. I've got here my Sony Handycam with an external shotgun microphone. Out of the HDMI output, I'm using a video interface card. It's a little USB card. It's a video capture card. This guy right here. Just a little guy I got off of Amazon for 16 or 17 bucks. And this end goes in the USB interface on the computer, and the HDMI cable coming out of the camera goes into this end here. And then once you plug it in, Windows recognizes it as a USB device, as a USB capture device. And then it is an option for choosing your video source for whatever streaming service you're using. Because now that there's two options there, the webcam on the tablet plus the Sony Handycam, you now have a choice. I can use what comes native to the tablet, or from the drop down where you choose your video source, I can choose the USB capture device. So that's what I've done. And the limitations I'm finding is that StreamYard doesn't recognize, StreamYard recognizes the USB device in Windows. I can choose that as a video source option, but it doesn't give me a video feed. Clearly something's wrong. I'm going to try your advice of upgrading the driver and see if that does something. Did that answer your question adequately? Let me know. Oh, fives. Yes, Waste Management is one of my bigger accounts. There's two facilities that I service in Austin, and I've got a lot of love for those guys. They have, between the two facilities, a couple dozen guys, I think, and I visit both shifts at both facilities. And they have a special place in my heart now, and a special loyalty I have to them, because when the pandemic started, because as a corporate shop, management said that no vendors can come on property, including the tool guys. So I said, well, can I at least meet the guys then off property? And they said, no, we don't want the guys on the trucks. So I was kind of up a creek there without a good option for doing any kind of continued business. And that really bothered me because they're such a great account for me. So I kept in touch with the guys on and off, doing what I could to at least help them out with warranties or service or something. But it was very difficult. If you don't go to a shop all the time, or they don't see you all the time, business tends to drop off. And that's what was happening. Of course, I got no business out of them for a while. 7 months later, I get a call from their facilities manager, which really surprised me. I honestly did not expect to get a call. I figured that they didn't care about me at all. Why would they bother to call me? The manager calls and he says, hey, you can come on back. I said, great. So I started going back on the regular. And when I got back there, the manager said to me, he said, I thought you'd like to know that we gave our techs an option to only have 2 tool trucks come on property. Now, before the pandemic, they were getting 5 tool trucks. All the franchise trucks, Cornwell, Mac, Matco, and Snap-on, and me. And they gave an option. They said, choose two. So they chose Mako and me. And I could not have been more honored to stay in their good graces like that and know that I meant that much to them that I could go back. And it was great. And as a result, business is very good there. It continues to be very good there. And in fact, one of the facilities just hired, I think, 3 or 4 new techs. Come to find, I already knew one of them from a previous shop I used to service, and he moved away and all the rest. And now he's coming back to this shop. So he just got on my truck for the first time last Thursday, and we're starting up some more business with him. And I love Waste Management. And Waste Connections is another waste handling company that's in my service area. And those guys are terrific because they get tool vouchers that they use on my truck. So each guy at Waste Connections gets a $100 voucher every month to use on the tool truck of their choice. And they get Matt, Cornwell, Snap-on, and me. And every one of those guys every month gives me their $100 voucher. I am over the moon with how well the guys at the sanitation companies treat me. It's been great business, and I love doing business with them. Thanks to Rail 9222. It's a like-worthy stream. That makes me feel good. Get out of it what you can. Yeah, Miguel, there's a bunch of different leak testers. Is it not... does it have the functionality you're looking for? Because the OTC one I thought was pretty good. Good, Justin. I'm glad that cleared it up for you. Any suggestions you have, lay them on me, and I'm going to try that driver for sure. Pat, what kind of business do you get at food processing facilities? Do they have like maintenance guys or mechanics that are they working on like delivery vehicles, or are they working on equipment in the facility? Yeah, you're right, Fives. Diesel techs spend a lot of money on tools. They usually do get paid better than automotive techs, and they need the big stuff. So their stuff is more expensive, and usually business with diesel techs is very, very good. It took a while for me to grow business at one facility in particular. They're a third-party, independent, and they're a chain. They have stores throughout Texas and Oklahoma and Nebraska, I think. And the shop I service has, I think, 6 or 7 techs. Nice guys, all of them. It just took a little while, I think, to kind of win them over. A little persistence with continuing to show up, helping them with warranties and stuff like that. And now business a few months later is just booming there. And I love the guys at Freightliner facility I service, which is outstanding. They throw a lot of business at me. And this other facility. Forgive my barking dogs. One of my dogs is she's a Pyrenees, and she will bark at anything and everything. So a flea farts a mile away, and she's all over it. So I apologize for that.
There's nobody there.
And that's my wife telling the dog to be quiet. So we'll deal with the dogs. Oh my God! I didn't realize that about the leak tester. So Pat, is there a particularly good business there? I never considered doing business at a place that just has facilities maintenance and stuff. Because now you're making me wonder. There's places in my area which I could probably see if I could probably explore doing some business there too. Although right now my schedule's kind of full, but it's always good to have a plan B, as new shops or old shops might fall away sometimes, the business drops off or whatever, or if there's a better opportunity to do more business somewhere, I'll absolutely check that out. So yeah, thanks for the tip, man. I appreciate that. I never realized that, Pat, with the processing facilities. You know, and it makes me wonder, too, because I had thought about trying to tap some other markets, and it's not always easy to get new lines out there for like PPE, for example. I would love to offer up PPE because I buy direct from Amex that makes the glove work gloves, and they have a whole line of PPE. And I thought about maybe expanding into some different industries. I don't know if like restaurant and healthcare and all the rest of it, but I don't know how easy that would be to do. I've never really explored it. Trying to find the right people to talk to is oftentimes very difficult in companies like that because they're so large and they may already have contracts with existing vendors. They may not be inclined to change. But it's something worth looking into. Just recently, one of the refuse facilities that I service, I got an agreement with them to supply them with gloves on the regular, on like a subscription basis. And that was easy to do because they're fairly small, and the guy who's in charge of purchasing the gloves works in the office, and I know him. So, they asked me about gloves a month ago, and I quoted them out the gloves. And when I went into the shop, I followed up with him, and I said, do you want me to get them for you? And he said, no, we got them from one of our other suppliers. Excuse me. He said, we got them from one of our other suppliers because they had them right away. I said, well, if you want, I said, I can get you on a subscription basis. I said, I'll sell, if you buy a minimum of a case at a time, I'll knock off $2 per box. So per case, they're going to save $20 every time. They'll buy 2 cases a month of different sizes. So I got that agreement going with them, and I want to make sure that I get my own internal process established correctly so that I can, replenish the subscription as I need to and make sure that they have their steady stream going. Make sure our suppliers are still supplying gloves like they should, because between Amex, Medco, and ISN, I have 3 different sources for them. So I'm pretty confident we can always get them now. So I just want to see if I can work out internally how that goes and see if I can make it work. And then expand it. And maybe open up to other similar shops like Waste Management, for example, which I know gets their gloves through a vendor that already provides them. I think the uniform service may provide them. So I don't know if it makes sense to do that, if they have the capability of kind of parceling out different aspects of that, or if they're bound by a contract. I don't know. It's going to take some exploration, but I think there's some opportunities there. Justin, thanks for looking at the video capture cards. I also saw some options there, and I didn't know how much of a difference they made. And it may very well be, because the one I bought is inexpensive. I think it was like $17. I at least wanted to see if I could prove the concept, which clearly I'm able to do now after some struggling with it. But I wonder if you're right. If there's a problem with the signals that the less expensive one's putting through, if it's not as full featured, if it doesn't accommodate, other whatever it is that StreamYard needs to see, for example. I don't know. It might very well be. Miguel, do I service Waste Management on 1327? Waste Management on 1327. No, I don't. There's the facilities I service are on 967 out toward Del Valley, and the one off of Giles Lane up off of 290. And the Waste Connections facility is the one that's up in Pflugerville, and I know there's one down on, was it 812 or 821, down that area. I used to service that one, but they had some management issues, and as a result, they had some issues with the technicians down there, and nobody was showing up to work. So I gave up on the shop after a while. I might have to go back there because I know of a few guys that transferred facilities. Now they have new managers down there, and so it might do me well to carve out some additional time and head down there. But no, I didn't know about the Waste Management facility on 1327. I'm going to look that up because now you got me curious. Is that the TDS facility, Miguel? The one in Creedmoor? Because if that is, We tried going there a while back, and they were just never really that into buying tools from us. So we stopped going there because it's a little bit out of the way. If business was good there, it would have been worth it, no doubt. And I noticed that they were cycling through some technicians for a while, so I don't know if I don't know if anything's changed, if the guys are sticking around a little bit longer. But they had a revolving door there for a while, and I know that because so many of the guys were leaving TDS and going to work at Waste Connections in the facility that I service up in Pflugerville. So the guys would come in all the time. Oh yeah, I just work at TDS down at Creedmoor. So I don't know. I don't know what their current situation is there. And I'm a big enough fan of what they do there and how they do it that I'm happy to revisit every now and then. If something's changed, if something's been better, for their guys, and they're going to be buying tools, I'm happy to check it out. Joe, that's an interesting idea about an HVAC tool truck. And I had wondered about tapping other industries than just like automotive and diesel. Because there are so many industries that need tools. I had wondered about servicing job sites for road construction guys. I had wondered about servicing contractors at construction sites, because particularly around here, housing is going up like it's going out of style. And I wonder if there's opportunities there to service contractors. I don't know. I don't know. It would change some of the product line a bit. I'd have to get some woodworking tools on board and probably some plumbing tools and stuff, but I wondered about doing that. I can't help but think that there's an opportunity there somehow. I just don't know what it would look like yet. Well, Pat, $4K a week in revenue from tomato processing is nothing to sneeze at, let me tell you. That's that's some good business. Good for you. Hand tools, jerky, and lights, Everybody needs them, man. Everybody needs them. Yeah, Fives, you're right about that. I make it a point to see as many shifts as I can, especially because sometimes their overlaps are so convenient that I'd be stupid not to do it and see everybody who's on staff in one shot. Like if I can get there, say an hour before one shift ends, then stay an hour after the other shift starts, it's a perfect 2-hour window for me. And one of our city facilities that I service changed their shift overlaps, where now they've got like a 4-hour overlap. Guys are coming, like the second shift comes in at 10 a.m. and then first shift leaves at 2. So I have this 4-hour window. It's been very convenient, very good business for me. Yeah, I'm a big fan of doing business that way, which is why on Wednesday nights I'm out so late, because I'll service second and third shift shops. We have our transit provider here, a company called Capital Metro. They run the mass transit system in Austin. And they have 2 facilities. Between the 2 facilities, they have about 160 technicians, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I'm doing as much business there as I can. They're kind of like the tomato processing equivalent, I guess, Pat. These guys give me so much business. I'm there for hours every week. You could easily dedicate one truck to both of these facilities, and he'll do a full week's worth of business. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, Fives, I wondered about Grainger and how they do business with some of these facilities, because I was talking with one of the technicians at Waste Management who said that they weren't allowed to buy from Grainger anymore. And he meant that as an individual, not as a shop. And I didn't know if they had an arrangement with Grainger where they could. He said he didn't do any purchasing with them, but I guess they had an arrangement where the individual technician could set up an account with Grainger and purchase from them, but now he said they can't do that anymore. So they pretty much have the market locked up, I think, because their pricing is really very good because they're a big company and they have a lot of buying power. But I've noticed that I can be strangely competitive in certain areas. Gloves, for example, I can be perfectly competitive with gloves. I can even undercut some of the bigger guys with gloves. Granted, I'm not making a whole lot of money, but I don't have to. If I'm moving a higher volume in gloves, I don't need to make a ton of money per box. I'm fine with even just a couple of bucks per box. Sell them and they pay right away. So it's very easy. With waste management, they just give me a credit card to keep on file. All I do is I give them an invoice, they give me a purchase order, charge the card, and off we go. So the amount of money for the amount of work I have to do to give them a case of gloves, easiest money in the world. Pat, that's a good suggestion about tow companies. I did some on and off business with Southside Towing, which is down here in Austin, and we have Interstate Towing, Southside Towing, and Austex. Those are three big companies. They do towing and recovery. I've used them a couple of times if I broke down in my truck, and I've been very happy with their quality of service. And it seems like, especially at that level, when you're dealing with recovery guys, these guys are highly trained and they don't tend to, I don't think, go job hopping so much. So I think there would be a pretty decent, steady customer base there. It's something I should absolutely... Sorry I didn't finish that thought. I just remembered that this little automotive shop that I've been servicing since day one just got purchased by Southside Towing. They moved the shop, and now I think now their tow truck technicians are in a separate building on the same site. I'm going to have to see. I'll find that out Monday. Thank you for jogging my memory on that one. Yeah, Miguel, it's a pretty good mix. TDS, Waste Management, Waste Connections, too. Before, and it used to be Republic Waste, but then one of their facilities and their vehicles got purchased by Waste Management. So I'm down to 3 different companies now instead of 4. Yeah, Northern Tool, Granger for sure. Fastenal, yeah, I forgot about them, but there is a Fastenal facility down here in Austin. I don't know. Yeah, and MSC Supply too, Rail 9222. I don't know how much business they do with the facilities around here that I service. One of my things is I need to get better relationships with the facility management and find the guy who's in charge of things there to have these kinds of conversations with, because one of my challenges is to make the time to do that, because my schedule's kind of busy. It's pretty full. And sometimes I find myself falling in this trap, and Pat, I bet you find yourself doing this too, when you're just kind of running and gunning, right? You don't, you just want to get in, do your business, get out, get down the road and go to the next shop, because you might not have time in the day to do it all, especially if business gets busy at one shop. When guys are in a buying mood, that oftentimes pushes back the rest of your schedule. And when you do that, now you're just scrambling. And it leaves me very little time to have these conversations with the managers. But it's probably worth doing and growing the business that way, especially if I can grow it in a way that I can do some mail order with them, or if they just want stuff drop shipped, like I can drop ship stuff from my suppliers. And I don't know if Snap-on will do that, Pat, but like one of my biggest supplier is ISN. And for one fairly low flat rate, they will drop ship an entire order. So I can, that's if I don't, that's even if I don't meet my order minimum. I hit my order minimum for one customer, they don't charge for shipping. So it's a very, very feasible way to increase business where I could just do some mail order stuff. For sure. I gotta look into that. Yeah, and we do need to stick together. I am a big fan of making friends with other tool guys. I got a buddy who's a Mako guy, another buddy who's a Cornwell guy, and a Snap-on guy around here. I'm also on very good terms with. I love meeting these guys, and it's fun just to talk shop sometimes and see, what they're up against and what their struggles are, maybe trends that they're seeing, products that they're moving, things like that. And what I like is that these guys, none of us are threatened by each other. We're all getting our slice of the pie. Like I don't, and then there's two shops where I pull up, and my Mako buddy is either there first or I'm there first, but we're usually both there at the same time. And then one day, it's on Wednesdays, when I go to Capital Metro facility, one of the Snap-on guys is there, and he's a fairly new guy, so he and I just met, and we're chatting about stuff, and I really enjoy getting to know other tool guys. It's just good to keep kind of a brotherhood going. We're competitors, yes, but we're not enemies. And I know too many guys that somehow believe that you don't deserve the time of day if you're another tool guy, which makes no sense to me. I think that there's no reason why we can't be on good terms with each other. Some friendly competition is a very healthy thing for us. I mean, there was one time where I had a used Mako box on the truck, and a guy at one of the waste facilities purchased it from me. So I dropped the lift gate. As I'm pushing the box off the truck, my Mako buddy is getting off his truck, and he takes a look and he sees I'm rolling off a Mako box. So it's kind of fun just to and then of course there's plenty of times he's rolling off a used cart or a box or something on a facility that I serve. So there's no animosity. It's all this good business. And I think that we can enjoy, trying to competing with each other. We'll hop on each other's trucks and say hi and see what we're selling and what we got on the truck. And it's a good way just to keep up with what other people are doing in the industry. It's a great way to learn. When Mark from Mid-Atlantic Tools posts his stuff on Instagram, it gives me a chance to see how he's got his truck stocked. Because he and I both use ISN a lot as our main supplier. It's a terrific way to see how other guys are doing business, gives you ideas for products you want to carry or not carry or whatever the case might be. So I'm a big fan of this, staying friendly with everyone. Oh, thanks, Jason LeCreux. I appreciate the input, pal. Trying to do business is hard enough, I think, and there's too many tool guys that I know that don't have good reputations because they're just not nice people. And I think that the best thing you can do for yourself is if you like people, it's a great business to be in. If you don't like people, don't get in the business. And business will follow if you're a nice person and you accommodate people and you're easy to work with. And that's what I try to do. And so far, it's working pretty good. So. Yeah, Miguel, that's the Fastenal I was thinking of too. I've never been in there myself. I don't know. The only vendor like that I've ever done business with, if you've ever been over to American Bolt on Burleson Road, there are guys that will ask me for specific screws or fasteners or bolts, and that's what I go to them for because their inventory is very good, and those guys are pretty helpful. Yeah, fives, body shops are a lot like that, unfortunately. And I had done a lot of work early on with juggling and struggling with servicing body shops. And I since swore off them because of that. Currently, I have 2 collision shops, and I've done work for them since day one, and I know these guys pretty well. They know me, and they give me a lot of good business. So I continue to go to those 2 shops and those 2 shops only. There are some custom shops that I see. Miguel might know these guys. There's Murpho's in Buda, and West Coast Shoppers and Martin Brothers and Classic Jaguar and some of these higher end shops. I'll go see custom shops because even though they do paint and body work, it's not like a collision shop where they're just cranking these things out. Their standards for who they hire is much higher than these other shops, and as a result, you tend to get, I think, a higher quality person, to be honest with you, and business is better as a result. Pat, those are absolutely true, and I don't know if you have access to the Can Cut line at all, either through a side channel or through Snap-on's supplemental line that can cut hyperstep bit. They don't call them hyperstep. That's Matco's trade name. Can cut step point drill bits, same bits. You can get them that way, and yeah, I mean they're stupid expensive, but they are outstanding bits. In fact, I had I don't think it made it onto a tool haul video, but I bought the regular 29 piece set of bits from Cut because I wanted to see if they'd be any better than the Irwin ones. If I need a regular drill bit set, I usually go to Irwin. And the step point bits I've been carrying the Cut because they're just like the Matco ones. And I don't know if they come from the same manufacturer or not, but I do like Cut's manufacturing. So I got these regular all-purpose 29 piece bits, and they seem to be harder and they seem to cut better. The people who have bought them from me have been praising them up and down, so I made the decision, I think this was last week or the week before, I'm going to move over to the Cut line now as my regular drill bit line because I think their stuff is that much better. I wish they put some warranties on their bits. They don't, but I think the bits are high enough quality that if I give guys a quick tip on going slow and using oil and making sure their bits stay lubricated and as cool as they can get them, then they're going to last a lot longer. And they're kind of expensive to replace individually, like their step point drill bits. I think the cheapest ones are $7 or $8 a piece, and then they can cost up to $15 to $18 for the larger size step points on those. How easy, you're right, it is good business. It's just a good way to be as a person. And I gotta look myself in the mirror and go to bed at night believing that I treated people right. Because I hate being mistreated myself. I would never want to mistreat anybody. It's not fair. It's not right to treat other people like that. I would feel terrible about myself. So I do what I think I like people anyway. So the nice thing is it kind of fits very well with my personality to be in this business because I enjoy people so much. Rail 9222, how's the wireless hole punch business doing? I don't know. I don't have. I don't done much business with wireless hole punches. Is there a brand who makes those? I'm not familiar with them. What, Miguel, is American Bolt moving from the Burleson Road location? Howie, I don't blame you. Having a sense of humor is really important in life in general. And if you don't have one, boy, things can be kind of miserable. I was always of the thinking, especially when I was in my corporate careers, that we have to work with each other, especially if you're in an office, right? Or you're in some company where you have colleagues and coworkers you're with every day. You're with these folks for 8 hours a day, at least. That's a long time to be with people who aren't your family. And man, if you can't laugh or joke around, that makes a long, ugly day. And I had to move on from a couple of companies that just didn't appreciate a sense of humor. And I guess it was my sense of humor they didn't like. I mean, I don't have an offensive sense of humor. I don't get stressed out that much about things. And I remember having a conversation with one of my bosses once when I was in my IT career. We had a problem with it was a piece of hardware that went down pretty hard, and as a result, we didn't get internet access. And to recover from this problem took a process I was not familiar with at the time. So I was in touch with our support people for for the company that we bought our stuff from. So it's taking time to troubleshoot this and get it figured out. And while I'm waiting on to hear back from these guys. I'm doing some other things, and my boss comes in. Oh, how are we doing? Where's that? I'm like, waiting to hear back. They have a time frame. Here's what we got to do. I think when we do, then it's going to take X amount of time to get it back up. It's like, oh man, yeah, you got to hurry up. I'm like, yeah, it's in the works, man. Then he said, why don't you get more worked up about this? I said, because stressing out about this is not going to make it better. In my first career, I was an EMT. No one's dying because they can't get on the internet right now. Having a frame of reference where you're dealing with people's lives makes a lot of other things seem a lot less stressful, especially when your internet is down and people can't look on Facebook during the lunch hour. It was going to get fixed, and sure enough, it did. And then I got some more negative feedback after that. Like a couple of days later, he called me into his office and said, I just want you to know that, I'm not one of these guys, but other people were saying they don't think that you took that outage seriously. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't get worked up about that. It got solved. It got solved in as fast a time frame as it could have gotten solved in. Whether or not I was stressing out or not, had nothing to do with that. So, I tend to gravitate toward people that enjoy joking around, and they don't take things that seriously, and they don't get all worked up about stuff, because very little in this life is worth getting that worked up about. Pat, I'm still kind of getting information on the can cut warranties. When I talked to my account rep on that, he he gave me a verbal assurance on this one, and I don't tend to like this very much, but I asked him about a warranty on these bits when they first became available, and he said, no, they don't have a warranty. He said, but if you have one that's broken, I'll help you out. That's where I left it with him. And I never really pulled that string because so far I haven't had any broken ones to deal with. I had to replace a bunch of missing ones that a guy lost. He had a Mako set, and he lost 7 or 8 bits out of it. So I replaced them for him, and they were pricey. 7 bits, I think, between $10 and $15 for the size that he wanted. He spent a lot of money on replacing the bits. But it was worth it to him because they are very good bits. So I haven't really had to put that to the test yet. I'm still new enough with the can cut line that I don't know how that's going to work out. It would be interesting to see if sometimes I can go through my distributor if they have the right arrangement with the manufacturer. Sometimes I go directly to the manufacturer for warranty claims. Don't know yet. I'm gonna check into that. I'll let you know. Robert, thanks for cluing me in on wireless hole punch. I didn't know that. Okay, well, now I know. See, that's we're always learning something new every day here. The wireless hole punch business isn't bad. I'm looking at just trying to keep up with it, to be honest with you, especially in the ammo corner of things. As soon as I get new ammo, it's gone. It sells fast. And the one thing that I'm at least happy about is at least it's more available now than it's been. And there seems to now be a regular supply for the more popular calibers. And that wasn't the case, I think, 6 months ago. Like back in January, I think, is when we first started seeing that come around again. So now we can actually get stuff that we weren't able to get before. So most calibers are available now, and that's going pretty well. And the sales of the guns themselves are pretty steady. Yeah, you're right, Rail 9222. Most of them are. Mac Tools is the only company I know that has a lifetime warranty on every size bit they have. Right down to 1/16 of an inch. To buy one of their sets, I don't know what their current costs are, but when I was a Mac dealer, I think when they were on sale, they were about $399.99. So I know that they're more than that now. So you're well over $400 for a 29-piece set of Cobalt drill bits from Mac. but you get a lifetime warranty on every size. So you're going to have to decide as a consumer, is it worth it? And you're going to have to do some math. Are you really hard on your bits? Do you break them often enough that the amount of money you would save in replacing your bits covers the extra that you paid to get the drill bit set with a warranty? And if you were to replace them, how much would they cost? Max bits are usually, well, it depends on the size. But the smaller sizes, like everything a 1/4 inch on down, they're going to be around $8 or less. And you'd have to break a lot of $8 bits to make it worth that difference in price. And maybe you do, and maybe it is. And I think what's important to know with stuff like that is that what you're paying for when you buy a set like that is you're just pre-buying your brokens, right, up to a certain number of broken bits. So it's entirely a subjective personal choice. If you like the quality of the bits and you want to spend the extra money to really just pre-purchase all your brokens, go right ahead. And a lot of people do. And Max bits have been very good, and they continue to be. But if you want to save a few bucks, if you don't go through bits that often, then it might be worth it to spend less and get them without the warranties on them. Yeah, Joe, you can buy 10 cents of the Milwaukee bits, and my understanding is they're pretty good depending on what ones you get. Their black oxide bits, I think, are fairly good. They have some nice titanium coated ones too with a 1/4 inch quick connect shank. I don't know that those are really pro grade bits. I've sold a couple only because people have requested them, but they're not an item I would normally put on the truck because they're gonna break right where the shank gets wallowed out to go in your quick connect, or where the bit connects to the base of the base of the shank for the quick connect on the hex portion of the shank. And Milwaukee does not offer a warranty on their bits because they consider their bits accessories and they only put warranties on their tools. So they've categorized it differently so they don't cover them under warranty. Starrett prices are very high. I wondered about getting access to them directly. And it doesn't make sense for a small operator like me to buy direct from them, and I wouldn't get that much in the way of business for Starrett products because I do service some machine shops, but it's more like the machine shop is part of the company that I service. So a lot of these guys already have their suppliers that they deal with on a regular basis, so I don't have much of an opportunity to sell machinist tools, and honestly I've never really made the effort because the automotive and diesel sectors are pretty big, so we're doing fine business for them. What I'd love to do, I'd like to hire an inside sales guy and say go out there and sell stuff, tap some new markets, get some new industries, and but I don't know, that's just a down the road kind of thing. Yeah, no, there's a lot of good info in the chat, Joe. I'm just glad everyone's helping each other out. This has been a really good exchange of information. Yeah, there's a few drill bit brands that I think are rather good. I just don't have any experience with them myself. There was one brand. Oh, I can't remember. Was it called Wolf? Does that ring a bell to anybody? I heard they're very good. But I've been a big fan of Concut since they've been coming out with the stuff they've come out with. Their pricing's high, but the quality is very good. And the feedback I've been getting is that their stuff cuts through pretty thick metal. Like guys will drill through frames and stuff, and they all tell me the same thing. They go right through like butter. And as long as they're treating their bits right, they'll service them for a long time. I'm not familiar with Norseman, Pat. Are they Who do they sell to? Do you know? Do they sell like through distributors and stuff? Because I'm always looking for something better. Right now it's Kincut. Before it was Irwin. Now it's Kincut. What's it gonna be tomorrow? I don't know. If there's something that will serve my customers better, that we can do a better pricing or a better warranty or whatever it is, I'm happy to do it. Yeah, Joe, you are right. Keep them lubed up. Use oil. When I first got into this business, I assumed, because I didn't know really anything about the tool business. I have never been a professional technician. The only tools I've ever used was basic hand tools and stuff at home to do some work on my own vehicles when it was easy enough for me to do. Right? So that's saying that, I'll say this. I was probably the least experienced tool guy to ever get into this industry. And I had a tremendous amount of learning to do when I got in there. And my philosophy was, I'm going to take the lead of my customers. I'm going to learn as much as I can from the people I'm serving because they know more about their jobs than I do. I presume they know more about what they need tools for than I do. And I also presumed they would know more about tools than I would. And for the most part, that was true. It took me a while to realize where those knowledge gaps were. And as I jumped on board this bandwagon and started learning as fast as I possibly could, I quickly learned where there were some real knowledge gaps from technicians. And as I further understood the industry, I realized how many differences there were, subtle though they were, within a shop, within people's own areas of expertise. What the differences were between a lube tech and a B-level tech and an A-level tech, and what they could and couldn't do, and the kind of tools that they had, what machinists did and the tools they had versus what the technicians would do and what they had. And as I learned about this, I was really surprised at the breadth, I guess, and the difference between so many people that I served. And one thing that struck me early on was that I really needed to work as fast as I could to start squirreling away knowledge. Even though I didn't have experience, what I could at least do was get knowledge, and I could learn from other people's experiences. So there's this constant conversation that I have, even now 6 years later, when I walk into a shop. When I go up to a guy, especially if he's, buried under the hood of a car. Hey man, what are you working on? And he'll tell me, I'm working on this, that, that. Oh, what's that involve? What are you struggling with anything? Is there something that could make it easier? And even though it may not be a sales pitch, and it's not, because I don't, obviously I'm there to sell tools, but I don't want to be pushing anything on anybody. That conversation usually opens up a few opportunities. A, it can jog their memory into thinking that they wanted something that they may have forgotten about. B, it gives me a lot of knowledge that I need. Especially if somebody's using a tool successfully and he really likes it, I can say, what do you like about it? What's it do for you? How does it make you more efficient and all the rest of it? And I can use that knowledge then as information for other customers. And if I see somebody else struggling with something, I can recommend a tool perhaps that I know works because these other guys may have given me the 411 on that. So it's the way that I try to do business with those guys. One thing that surprised me was how difficult it is to properly drill a hole. And I don't mean that facetiously. Using a drill to put a hole in material has a lot more science involved than I thought. And as I learned a lot of this stuff from watching some really good machinists on YouTube. There's one guy, ABOM79, out of Florida, whose channel I used to watch him all the time. And I learned a lot just seeing the stuff that he would do and learning about the different tools that he would use and what they all did. But more importantly, I saw his technique. And when he talked about the differences between the materials he was drilling and how they behave differently and the hardness of steels and what that meant for the kinds of drills that he would choose, and this was all new to me. And as I learned that stuff, I realized your average mechanic or technician is not going to know this stuff. And so far, that's been proven to be true. So, as I have these conversations with guys about the proper way to drill, I want to present it in a way that's not patronizing, but I'm sure there is information that these guys do not have about proper ways to make a hole in material, because it's not just put the bit in, put on high, and burn it up and move it around and wallow it out, and that's the techniques a lot of guys use. But man, they're killing their bits, and they're not doing their tools any service, and they could stand to refine the technique a bit. I had a guy buy a Mac set from me. Well, no, he wanted just a 1/2-inch Cobalt Mac bit back when I was a Mac dealer. So I sold it to him. I think it was like a $52 bit at the time. This is a regular 1/2-inch Cobalt bit. And he worked in a shop that fabricated leaf springs for trucks. And he walks off the truck with a bit, comes back on the truck about 10 minutes later, and he says, "This thing's a piece of junk." And he hands the bit back to me. And this bit looked like he put it through a battle. It was all chewed up. The shank was all worn away. And I was kind of surprised. I looked and I said, "What'd you do?" He says, "Well, I'm trying to drill holes in the leaf spring using our drill press." Excuse me. And I said, "Well, show me what you're doing." He goes, "All right." So we go back in the shop. He chucks the drill, tightens it down, puts the material in there, runs this thing on high, and leans on the handle to bring the bit down. And now this bit is chattering and it's screeching. He's holding on to this thing. It's going, I'm like, dude, just I don't know what to tell you. But there's a better way to drill a hole than that. Of course, he didn't want to hear what I had to say because he was right as far as he knew. But he killed his bit. He thought it was a piece of junk. But no one ever explained to him how to properly drill a hole in that kind of material, in spring steel. So, there's got to be an education component that comes along with being a tool guy. And you got to help guys out where you can, because that knowledge can go a long, long way. All right, I'm just getting caught up in the chat, guys. Sorry, that was a long-winded story. Okay, Pat. I kind of assumed based on for the Norseman drills, yeah, they go through machine suppliers. That doesn't surprise me at all. And then can cut. I don't know who else they sell through, but they may very well be best suited for tool trucks. Yeah, Jason, I tell you, it's a heck of a learning curve when you're getting in this business, and I think my biggest challenge was to learn different customers' experience levels. I had to learn what they knew that I didn't know, and I had to learn what I knew that they didn't know. And you try to, where they have knowledge and I had a knowledge gap, I want to fill my gap with their knowledge. Where they've got a gap and I've got knowledge, I want to fill their gap with my knowledge, right? And that's that constant game of how do I be useful to people in ways where I'm not just hawking tools at them. I'm actually able to help them become better, help them appreciate and understand tools that would help them do a better job. And that to me is, just part of how I'm useful. And I want to do that for people. I walked into a shop last Wednesday night. And I don't do a lot of business with this one guy. I walked in, he was the first guy I saw, so I started chatting with him. And we're talking about things unrelated to tools. And I said, anything I can do for you tonight? And he said, "Oh man," he says, don't come in here and start talking to me like that. And I said, "Like what?" He says, "Like, if you could sell me anything." I said, "No." I said, "I really meant, is there anything I can do? Do you have a broken tool I can take care of for you?" I said, "Do you have any questions I can answer for you? Are you working on something where you may be up against it? You don't know if there's a good solution to it?" I said, "If there's something I can do for you, let me know. I'm not just here to sell you something. I'm here to be a resource for you, and I'm here to be useful." And he said, "Oh." I said, "Sorry, man." I'm like that. I get it, right? These guys are are hard sold all the time from other tool truck guys. Those guys don't do the business any favors. I mean, they're very good for me because I don't mind if my competition is like that, because it just, honestly, it drives more business away from them and toward me. But you know, when you're someone who tries to be honest and get a good reputation, it helps. And doing that, I think I do myself a service, and it's why, you know, I'm doing as well as we are. Yeah, Real 9222. I bet you've probably forgotten more about putting a hole in material than most guys would ever learn, because you made a career out of it. Yeah, and Howie, you're right. I mean, the tool business changes a lot. The industry is always moving. It's always changing. There's always something new. And sometimes the new stuff has value. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does marketing hype. And to know the differences is not always easy. The only way to really know is when you get a tool and somebody's saying they can try it out. And I will do that where I can. If there's something that's brand new to the market and I don't know anything about it, I want people to check it out. So maybe I'll get one or two on the truck and just hand it around and say, hey, use it for a week and let me know what you think. I'll ask people, you want to be a product tester for me? And guys jump at that chance. They love that. And all I ask is that you give me honest feedback. You know, is it good? Is it bad? Is it something that you can use? Is it something that is, nothing but hype? Or what is it? And I try to do that. Well, Jason, thanks, man. That feels good knowing that you're able to get something out of not just my content, but stuff like Kuhn Trucking and CP the Tool Addict. These guys have a lot of experience and knowledge, and they've been at this game for a long time. And I think it's nice when we can all be here for each other, kind of build these little communities that we all get along well in and help each other out in, and just get knowledge. And I learned a tremendous amount from you guys and the stuff that I watch. And to me, that's what it's all about, is being a good part of the community and being a good person, because it feels good, number one. Number two, I like being a resource to help people out. Because if I can't do that, I'm not doing much at all. So I want to be useful. Howie, I just read your comment about insurance policies for apprentices. Man, that would be that'd be an expensive policy. But and that's the funny thing. Yeah, and that would be a really good topic. If we get a regular time slot for doing some live streams, I'd love to, and I can figure out all my software and hardware here. I'd love to have like a panel discussion on topics like that, on apprenticeships or new techs coming into the field and the best ways to learn and get up to speed so that you can improve your skills and move up in your career, and what that looks like. Because I fear for the future of the industry because of the everyman for himself model that it follows. You're flagging hours, you can't take time away from what you're doing to help a new guy out, and he needs the help. Apprenticeships, though, are a very good way to do that. I work with some shops that have apprentice programs. One of them is Freightliner down in Buda, Texas, and the new guys come on board and they're making an hourly. They're getting paid hourly, and their mentors are getting flag rate or commission. So they're able to make it work, and the apprentices' goals are to get off of the hourly and start earning more money by working on commission. So they've got all the right motivation, and I really enjoy, selfishly, when the apprentices come on my truck with their mentors, because their mentors, they do all the selling for me. I don't have to do a thing, because they'll tell the guys, hey man, here's what you need. This is a good price. Ask them about that, or whatever it is. And the mentors put me in the position to automatically be this resource. And I really appreciate that, because there's all the heavy lifting right there. If they've already got, the blessing from their mentor on doing business with me, and they show them that kind of faith and trust in me, then all I've got to do is help the guy out and help him buy what he needs. And sorry about the dog. help him buy what he needs. Excuse me 1 second. I might have to let the dog out. Hold on. Shut. Sorry about that. The dogs are just... Oh, the UPS guy's coming with a delivery. Yay! That's why they're barking. All right, so they're barking for all the right reasons this time, that we got a guy coming up to the door. So forgive the barking while we try to have this conversation. Apprentices. I think apprentice programs are fantastic. I think this industry is the perfect kind of industry if it can accommodate it for apprenticeships, because it's how people are going to do most of their learning, by working under the tutelage of a mentor. And I'd love to see more of that, because everybody benefits from that. And there was an interesting video on the Text Talking Shop channel. If you guys haven't checked that out, I know Power Stroke Jude and Ed, the old tech guy, or I don't know all the subtleties of who's in charge of what there, but they run that channel, and different technicians post videos, and they talk about all kinds of different parts of the industry. And one of the most recent ones was talking about this kind of thing. And I would love to have that as a topic, to bring in some guys who have experience in that kind of thing, either being an apprentice or have been an apprentice or have been a mentor for guys. I'd love to have that conversation. So as I continue to figure out my whole setup here in my live streaming thing, I think that'd be a really good future topic to have. Yeah, Pat, asking a guy if he's got any warranties is by far the nicest, friendliest, most helpful thing you can do. And, as we all develop our different approaches with people, I got in the approach of, just saying hi, how was your weekend, how's your last week been, blah, blah, blah. Get the personal stuff talked about. It's fun to learn about people, especially the guys that have families, or they got kids, or whatever they do, and just, see what they're up to and having fun with, and we, chat a little bit. And I don't always ask, is there anything I can do for you? Can I help you out? Can I replace any brokens you got? Do you need any information on anything? And a lot of times that'll jog a memory, or somebody forgot, oh yeah, and I got this broken socket, or man, I need some information on this thing. And it's a great way to kind of lubricate the experience in a shop. And it's amazing how much business comes from a simple conversation, where well, I'll give you a really good example. I walked into a shop once, and there's a guy kneeling on the radiator of a pickup truck while he leaned over the engine. And that makes my knees hurt just looking at that. And trying my best not to sound like an opportunistic sales guy, I said, you ever consider a topside creeper? And he's like, I don't know. Yeah, what do you got? What are the prices? I'm like, well, let's go on the truck and look, because I had a copy of my flyer on the truck. So I opened it up to the page with the topside creepers on them, and they're like $380 for the traction creepers. And he was looking at it, and he's like, I don't know. He says, but on the opposite page was this Mighty Vac evacuator that he did want. So he says, no, I need one of these though. So the conversation led to the sale of the evacuator, even though it started out with him kneeling on a radiator on a pickup truck. Conversations are critical to this business, and that's how you get people talking. It's how you learn about what they need and what they use and how they do business and how they work. And that's just one of the great things about this business is you've got some time, however long that is, to be with your customer. Make the most of it by asking questions. And if you're a technician, make the most of your time with your tool guy, and put him to the test and give him a challenge to work on, and have him step up and be a resource for you. Wow, who else we got in here? Dancing Alone with the Rentals came in here. Man, we're up to 21 people watching. If you just joined us, welcome and thank you. I accidentally started this live stream because I'm testing some software and a new hardware interface. So we didn't really have any topics, but man, guys like Pat Paulsen and Howie Z and Rail 9222 and Miguel and a bunch of guys have just burned up some really good topics of conversation. So we're just kind of hanging out, chatting on a Saturday evening. I don't know how long we're going to be doing it for, but you know, welcome. Glad you're here. So I'm kind of doing the best I can to juggle keeping up with the sidebar chat and also trying to continue to tweak my software here. So bear with me. I'm just scrolling more through the chat. Pat, you are not kidding. The wonders of auto pay. I was chatting with a buddy of mine who's a Snap-on guy. He said that they have to keep track of their auto payments separately because I don't know if Snap-on gives you a payment processor to use or if they integrate that with your POS software or if that's something you have to find on your own. But he said he had to keep a separate spreadsheet of everyone whose payments are going to run on Friday because auto pays always run on Fridays. And I'm pretty lucky that the payment processor we use allows us to schedule payments. So on Friday, they run automatically. They're not integrated in our point of sale software, so I have to manually go post people's payments, but that's not a huge deal. But man, you are right. Auto pay is a godsend because otherwise doing it manually every week would be very time consuming. And yeah, it'd be worth it because at the end of the week, I don't know, how much money you got out in the receivables that you collect every Friday, for example, but for me, it's a few $1,000s. So yeah, it's worth doing, but I'd rather not spend, hours at it as it is. It takes me about a half hour to run through all my manual portion of posting those payments. So Jason LeCreux says, in most of Canada, techs have to do a 4-year apprentice program before they can become licensed. That's a fantastic idea. I think one of the other advantages to that is it gets guys a chance to get mentally and emotionally invested in that as a career. And you're sure going to know at the end of those 4 years whether it's going to be something that you want to build on and do for a good long time. Country Mile Garage is here. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for stopping in. Oh, Theo, were you working all day? Okay, Pat. So you do have it integrated with your POS. That makes me jealous. I kind of wish mine was, but I use a third-party software called Lightspeed. They're a rather large retail POS service provider. It's all cloud-based, which is great because I can interface with it from anywhere. And if I'm out on the truck doing sales, then my wife can be on the back end doing inventory, and everyone's got access to the system. We can open up to multiple users. So, we had 4 employees there not too long ago, and everyone had their own accounts, and everyone could do their own thing because we had a guy who would process warranties and service stuff, and we had another guy on a second truck, and I was on my truck, and my wife was doing inventory and stuff. So very handy to work together on that. The downside is they don't integrate with our payment processor. They have their own payment processor that they integrate with, but that processor does not allow me to do auto recurring billing. And if they can't do that, it's a non-starter for me. I cannot use a payment processor that does not allow me to do auto billing. So yeah, I'm the same way with the deadbeats, Pat. Reschedule them, every day. At some point, unless they shut that card off, they're going to have some money in there. And when they've agreed to make the payment, that's your money. You just gotta try to grab it. Yeah, Howie, you're right. You do it for the love of the work and the people, not the love of the money. Especially in the tool business, I don't think any of us are really getting rich off of it. The margins are not as high as you might think they are. It's a challenge sometimes to meet your bills every week, especially if sales have been up, because we got to buy our inventory, and if somebody orders stuff, we got to get it. And the payment terms that we have with our suppliers, I'm assuming something similar Pat has with Snap-on or whatever. When I was a Mac guy, it was the same thing. We had like a net 30 payment terms. We had some credit programs that we could stretch out for a little bit longer, but by and large, we had to pay our bill by the end of 30 days. And there was a cutoff there. Everything we bought up through like the 15th of the month was going to be due at the end of the month. Then after the 15th, everything that we bought was going to be due at the end of the next month, that kind of thing. So they staggered it. So you always have at least some amount that you have to pay every month. And it's never low. I mean, these are, when you're doing a good business, you're paying a lot of money in tools every week and every month. And to keep up with that's not easy. And if people order a lot of stuff and you got a busy week, then your tool bill to your suppliers is pretty high. And you got to try to juggle that, and that's not easy to do, especially because everyone pays on credit. It would be one thing if someone said, "Hey, I want to buy this scanner." Okay, and I sell a $4,000 scanner and get a $4,000 payment. It doesn't work that way. I sell a $4,000 scanner, and let's say I take a $500 down payment. Okay, I gotta I'm financing $3,500, and if I do that $100 a week, that's still 35 weeks. Meanwhile, I got the bill for my cost on that due in 30 days. So the down payment plus the 4 payments that they're going to make does not equal by any stretch what my cost was on that scanner. It helps. It's going to make a dent for sure, but it's the challenge in this business to strike that balance. And one mystery that's always eluded me is how much can I afford to have out in receivables? I don't know how much credit I can afford to extend. You just kind of do it on this week-to-week basis where I look at my tool bill, I look at the business I got coming in, and I try to juggle my payments, and there's this constantly moving thing here, and it's not easy to manage. So it's a challenge for sure. Country Mile, self-employed means you're never off. That means when you work a half a day, you just work 12 hours. Am I right? It takes a lot from you, for sure. And it requires you to put in everything you've got. A buddy of mine started a mobile tech business, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. And he's like, "Man, I don't know, I'm getting the time to do everything else in my life." I'm like, "You're not. You just started a business." I said, "You're married to that for a while." Pardon me. I said, "Until you get that up to speed and you get your processes defined, you get all that worked out," I said, "your business is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take all your time." And he wondered about, how do I strike that work-life balance? I'm like, don't. There's no work-life balance when you start a business. It's all work. And it'll give you time as you go to figure out how you want to adjust what you're doing. But if you're of the mindset like I am, where I want to be growing and I want to be servicing everyone as best I can, that means it's going to take all your time. Theo, was funny. It's funny how many guys think that for some reason I don't purchase my inventory. There is a strange misbelief among some people that I somehow get tools given to me, and when I sell them, I just pay a commission on them. And I don't know why people think that, but there's a lot of people who do. And it's always an interesting conversation. I say, "No, I purchase all the tool guys do." I said, "There's no one I know that doesn't purchase their inventory." Because that's how the suppliers make money, right? I mean, all companies like Mac and Matco and Cornwell are, and Snap-on is a bit different model than the other 3 franchise companies. but but the principles are all the same. Snap-on is the same way in that they're distributors, right? Now Snap-on happens to also be a manufacturer, so they do actually own manufacturing capacity, unlike Matco and Mac. Coyle still has a little bit, but not much. But as a result, they have to sell to their dealer network in order to make money. So in that model, you have manufacturers, and I don't say it's like a pyramid to make it like a pyramid scheme because it's not. But the pyramid at the very top is the manufacturer. They're the people who actually make merchandise, right? Regardless of whose name is stamped on it. So Snap-on is a manufacturer. Lyle is a manufacturer. Apex Tool Group is a manufacturer. There's lots of Stanley Black & Decker is a manufacturer, right? All these companies actually manufacture hard goods. They then sell to other companies. Matco, Mac and Cornwell, even Snap-on buys product from these manufacturers with their brand put on it a lot of times. Not all times. If you go on a Cornwell truck, or especially a Cornwell truck, they are as close to following the independent tool truck model as any of the franchise trucks. You'll see the same brands on their truck that you'll see on my truck. And Matco is much the same way. Mac has most of their tools branded Mac, and Snap-on has most of their tools branded Snap-on. But even Mac and Snap-on have supplemental suppliers to augment their own company's branded items. So there's ways that we all get tools, and we all buy from the same suppliers anyway, and we're all buying the same stuff eventually. So that's pretty much the way that all works, and we have to purchase from our suppliers. We don't get stuff given to us or loaned to us, or we don't sell on commission. After our bills are all paid, then we try to, pay ourselves. And that's not always easy to do. And of all the jobs I've ever had in my working life, the paycheck that I make here working for myself is the smallest I've ever made. Still, all that I say to say this. I will do this before I ever go back to work for somebody else. Just because the rewards of not having stupid people telling me what to do far outweighs working for stupid people. And there's been a lot of people that I can't handle working for other people's egos and politics and all the rest of it. It's not my thing. So it's not really what I get into. I'd much rather be doing this on my own, man. Yeah, you're right, Theo. It doesn't ever end, and if you do love it, it's not really work. I agree with that. I think that there's always a cool challenge to work through. If you're the kind of person who enjoys figuring stuff out, putting out a fire, come up with a plan B. Sometimes you got to think of something new on the fly. If you're the kind of person that likes that, owning a business is the greatest because you have to do that kind of thing all the time. And it's not for everybody, for sure. Some people are disappointed when they find out they're not getting rich doing it, and that their costs are so high. Insurance is high, cost of goods is high. You pay a lot in taxes. There's a lot of money in taxes. Everyone seems like they have their hand out when you run a business, and you're sitting there just putting in other people's hands, and then hopefully you're making enough for yourself at the end of that. We defined early on what my wife and my salary would be, and we stuck to that. And in 6 years, we haven't had a raise. You just do what you can to make it continue to work, especially with the increase in the cost of goods and supply line issues and stuff. It's been a challenge, especially this past year. But we'll make it through it. It's just a matter of how long it's all going to last and what the upside is going to look like when we're out of it. Yeah, Howie, I understand what you're saying about Apex. It's an unfortunate truism that the larger corporations are going to stomp all over the smaller ones. They do. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. I wish that the people who ran large corporations had more of a conscience and maybe better moral and ethical standards for themselves. But what drives that, unfortunately, is especially in a publicly traded company, you've got shareholders who are demanding certain returns on their investment. And if you don't give it to them, you're out. And you can kiss your very lucrative job as president and CEO goodbye of a large corporation. So in order to maximize their sales, maximize their profits, and lower their costs, they outsource their manufacturing. They sometimes buy out or stomp out the little guy and grab that slice of the pie. And it's always kind of seedy to see companies do that. But it's unfortunate. But it's an unfortunate reality, and I don't like it myself. I know you don't, and a lot of people don't. Certainly, if you're a small business owner, you don't. But it's a shame that we see it so much. But it's unfortunate that that's kind of the way of big business these days. I remember reading an article a long time ago about Walmart and how they were kind of ruthless in some of their business practices, and Home Depot too. I mean, all the big companies are kind of like that. Oh, I didn't realize they closed down 14 tool companies in Louisville. That's, whew. That's rough. That's rough. Yeah, and Rail 9222 going 25 years without a raise. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Yeah, Theo, it's funny. People think you make money hand over fist. You know, I was talking with a guy who worked in a high-end shop, and he was working on some exotic cars, and he used to own his own company, his own shop, working on, I think, mainly Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And as he and I were getting to know each other, one of the conversations turned to owning your own business. And he said, you know, when he used to own his own shop, he said, I had to duck out. He says, and close the doors and go work for somebody else again. He said, because I was tired of making $500,000 a year and taking home a $40,000 paycheck at the end of the year. So yeah, he's making less than 10% of his total sales, and you know those numbers are about true for what I'm doing too. It's a tiny paycheck. None of us are rich, and all your money goes to to other people. And you know, if I think about how much money we spend with our suppliers, it's kind of sad. And you see a lot of money just go right through your business. When I first started looking for a tool truck, when I was signing on board with Mac, I was talking to a guy I bought a truck from who he was getting out of the business and I was just getting in. So he gave me a lot of really good information. And he said, you'll be surprised how much money goes through your truck and how little of it is for you. And I didn't really gain an appreciation for that until I saw the actual numbers. And then kind of this analogy I got was on one end you have this big gear turning around, and that's your suppliers. And then you have this other big gear turning around, and that's your customers, right? And in the middle of those two gears is this little gear. And that little gear keeps both these big gears rolling, and that's me, that little gear in between. You have a lot of responsibility on either side of you, to your suppliers and to your customers. And you're that one little guy in the middle that makes it go around. And, money goes through all these gears, you know. The money comes from the customers through my little gear and it goes to my suppliers. And then products come from this big gear through my little gear back to my customers. And it's this crazy figure eight of money and tools and money and tools and money and tools. When you're the guy in between making it happen, that feels really good to be part of something like that. I'm not going to lie, I wish it paid more. But, it is what it is. Pat, I'm sorry. I reminded you had to work on Saturday. Oh, Rail 9222, there's no loyalty. I think you're right. People are very opportunistic, especially when it comes to business, even though it might not be someone's personal nature. I think that when money is at stake, then that kind of gets trumped by the opportunism that we see a lot. And you can have the best relationship in the world with somebody, and a better deal comes along, and they're going to take it. And I can't begrudge anybody for that. I think that's people ultimately have to do what's right for them. I kind of wish loyalty meant something, but it doesn't. And I understand that that's business. It's not necessarily personal. It's not a testimonial or a referendum on me as a person. If somebody decides they want to buy something from a different supplier or a different vendor, I get it. And especially in corporate America, there is less than no loyalty. If you can have a negative amount of loyalty, that's what I've found in places I've worked. Jason LeCreux, that is the best question that you could ask me. And that's not to put down anyone else's questions. That's because I have asked that same question. I do not know. If Milwaukee is planning on making an extended reach high-speed ratchet, I wish they would, for two reasons. One, it'll shrink the head on that thing. Put the same small head they have on the new high-speed ratchets, and B, get that thing turning at faster RPM will go a long way. I don't sell many long reach ratchets because of the size of that head. Most guys opt for the snap-on one because it's much more manageable. So I can't fault anybody for that, because I'd be making that decision if I were them. I just wish Milwaukee would do that, because that seems to me to be the next hole in their product line that they need to fill. Yeah, Theo, you're right. As that little gear, you got to turn 5 times faster to keep up with the big gears. It's true. I want to be the guy who is reliable enough so that when I'm seeing a customer, he can rattle off a list of things that he needs, and I'll get it taken care of for him. Hopefully, no later than the time I see him next week. And if I can be that guy, that makes me feel great. But man, it takes a lot of work to keep up with it. You're like a duck, in that the stuff you see above the water, you just see this duck kind of hanging out, doing his thing. He's calm, cool, and collected. But underneath the surface of the water, stuff you can't see, and his feet are going like mad to keep him moving. So you're running to try to keep up with stuff that when you see a customer next week, here you go, man, I got your stuff taken care of. Oh, awesome, great. Meanwhile, he has no understanding or appreciation for the amount of work that it may have taken, but that's okay. That's what it's about, right? You want to see him, you want that. That's that awesome illusion of of being efficient and good and organized. I had a guy who brought me a broken Ingersoll air impact, and he ordered a couple of other things, and then I had to look at a broken Easy Red extendable ratchet he had. He had a bunch of things on the list, and I took that all. And then the following week, he wasn't in the shop when I was in there, so I dropped off the stuff that he bought. I put his repairs on the thing, and everything that he had on his list was done. And when I saw him the week after, which was this past Thursday, he said to me, "Man, thanks for getting all my stuff taken care of." He says, "It was great. It was easy." Right? That made me feel like $1 million, because that's what I'm hoping for. Create that illusion that everything's calm, cool, collected, and easy, even though you might be working like mad. But he got everything he needed. He was happy, and he actually told me, he says, "This is why I'm your customer. I like doing business with you." And that's to me the payoff right there, is when somebody expresses that appreciation for what I do. Makes me feel like $1 million. And that's my goal with everybody. And they set the mark, but hit it where you can, and it feels good when you do. Yeah, put the 3/8 anvil on the 1/4 inch body, Theo. That's awesome. Yeah, I am not as up as I probably should be on what Milwaukee has in their pipeline. They do a pretty good job, I think, of communicating that to people if you get on their mailing list, which I'm not on. I should probably get on it, actually, now that we think about it, because it's a good way to strike up a conversation with people about products that are worth looking out for. Milwaukee puts more money into research and development than a lot of other companies have for their total budgets. And it shows. They're always coming out with new stuff. And for the most part, the stuff they come out with is rather good. I see a lot of people convert from other cordless platforms to the Milwaukee platform. And I don't know if too many guys are going the other way off of Milwaukee. Milwaukee's pricing's pretty good. I think it's still expensive, but it's pretty good, especially if you buy it on the tool truck. If you get a Home Depot or wherever, you're going to pay less, but you got to be careful because you don't know about warranties and who's actually standing behind it and what their policies are. Different vendors have different fulfillment policies, so it would be worth your while if you're buying stuff somewhere just to find out what that is. Milwaukee is very easy. If you want to work with them directly, if you're a consumer, you can do that. They have a little online portal. You just go there, punch in some information, you can ship them your stuff. But they have a lot going for them. I like the fact that they're so heavy in the industrial sector, and they've got new stuff coming out for the industrial folks all the time. And since they made the decision a few years ago to go big into the automotive sector, I think it's worked out very well for them. They've got a lot of loyalty, a lot of brand loyalty, and people seem to be jumping on board with it. So good for them. I'm glad that they're making it work as well as they are. And it's great to be able to offer their stuff and be a supplier or be a vendor that offers their lineup, because it's been very, very good for business. So I think we're caught up in the chat. For now, anyway. Thanks for bearing with me as I try to figure out my software and hardware. If you are just jumping on the stream, this was a stream I didn't intend to go live with. I'm trying out some new hardware and software for my camera and my video processing software. So I'm just kind of trying to make it work, and I accidentally went live. I thought it was private, but nope. And we got a live stream going, so thanks for joining in. Raging Cajun Garage has joined in. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, JD Co's a really good guy, Raging. He's a guy out of New Jersey, if you don't know him. He has a storefront that he sells, and he operates a tool truck. And I admire his business model because it's one I've been trying to get into for a while. And trying to get there is no small undertaking because it requires an investment in getting a facility and getting inventory to make it look stocked. And then finding a location where you can afford it, right? Because rent goes up everywhere, and especially here in Austin, it's out of touch for most small businesses. But it's something that I'm looking at doing just outside the city limits, so hopefully we can get something at a good price. And I'm working with a lot of you guys know Cass Nichols from Speed Wrench Customs. He and I and a guy that Cass used to work with are trying to put together a plan right now to co-lease a building, get a place built. They know guys that have land. They know guys that erect steel frame buildings. And if I go in on it with them, maybe we can work a deal with a developer where they'll take half the building, I'll take half the building, and make it work from there. And then I'll still operate a tool truck, but kind of mix up the week, half on the tool truck, half in the shop or something like that. And I can sell tools and guns out of the shop and kind of build the business that way a little bit. That's the goal anyway. Hopefully it comes together. So I look to guys like Nick at JDT Co. I admire him a lot. It's nice to see how he's doing what he's doing. I think it's interesting as he grows to see the kinds of new initiatives that he takes. Like now he has stuff with his own brand on them, so he has products third party branded for him, which is kind of cool. And he has really nice things like branded protective boots for air tools, for example, and pocket pry bars and some other things that he's got his brand on, which are really nice. I admire the way guys like that do that. He seems, I don't know Nick personally, but he strikes me as a guy that's got a tremendous amount of energy and kind of this, this endless ability to apply that energy to his business. And so much of how we do business is striking up the right relationships with suppliers. How can we buy our tools and our merchandise at pricing that allows us to sell at competitive prices? That's not always easy, but that's a huge challenge. And you got to do a lot of shopping when you own a business, and you got to buy merchandise. You have to look at different distributors. You have to look at buying directly. You have to look at what your options are. Some companies will only sell through certain channels, and what are those? You have to figure that out. Like, I would love to buy Milwaukee directly from Milwaukee, but I can't. I got to buy it through a distributor. Yet I can buy Coast Lighting directly from Coast. I can buy GloveWorks gloves directly from Amex. So these companies have the ability to do business with a smaller company like me, as long as I hit certain minimums, right? That minimum might be as low as a few $100 or as high as a few $1,000, depends on what it is. So every time I put in an order, I have to hit a certain minimum, and then they'll ship me the order. So it really depends on what the product is. If it makes sense, is the cost savings going to be so much that it's worth the extra effort and the administrative overhead and the initial upfront expense in hitting a minimum versus buying from a distributor that may not have the same kind of arrangement. So, like, I can get Coast Lighting, for example, or GloveWorks gloves through my distributors as well as from the manufacturers. I just have to see, is it worth it? Is the price difference that much? If it's not, I'll just stick with my distributor because it's easier to do business single sourcing stuff because I have one person I deal with there, one bill to pay. So that's just, the things that you look at from running your business as to, who you're going to do business with primarily, who's my backup as a supplier if something falls through with one. Sometimes relationships go south and you find somebody else you want to do business with or whatever. Or you have one supplier that they no longer carry a certain line. Okay, well, I really like that line. Who can I get it from now? So that stuff is always going on. Like we were talking about with Theo, there's always something to figure out in any business that you own. And tools is no exception. Jonathan Sherwood just joined in. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you, pal. Well, thanks for the vote of confidence, Rage, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I know we've talked about getting you some stuff. Just let me know when you want to move forward with stuff. Give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever. We'll get you taken care of. Enjoy the silence while I look at my software to make sure I'm tweaking it right. But now might be a really good time to ask you for some suggestions. I would love to do a regular live stream on some night of the week or whenever, or the weekend, or whenever people are going to watch, and have certain topics of conversation. I'd like to have, another person that we have a conversation with, real time over video. And it might be a great opportunity to get guys more exposure and to learn from other people's experiences. So, Pat Paulsen with a $5 super chat. Thanks, Pat, man, I appreciate that. Thank you. Be a really good opportunity to talk about maybe some focused topics and talk with people who have experience in those areas. Like we talked about before, I think apprenticeships would be a great topic of conversation. I think another topic would be, doing business. There's lots of guys who are business owners. Theo's one of them, and I know Rajan's he's an owner operator of his business, and Pat's operating his own his own thing. So it would be really good to get perspectives from other business owners about things like, I don't know, cost of goods. I think a conversation came up on Ed the Old Tool Guys, or maybe it was it Ed or was it Power Stroke Jude? The topic came up of markup on product, and there were some very interesting opinions on that. And I would love to kind of tackle that. Business owners would be the greatest people to hear from as to why we mark stuff up how much we do. And then from the consumer perspective, do you think it's too much? Do you think it's, unreasonable, and what that is? And I think that would be a really cool topic. So if you got some conversational topics that you guys would like to tackle on a live stream, put them out there. Let me see them, and we can put together a whole list of a whole schedule, and gives me time to put the feelers out and see who would be interested in joining, and then try to figure out with my software how to make that happen, because I'm not using StreamYard. I'm using a piece of software called OBS Studio, and I don't know of a way that I can actually invite other people on. Got to figure that out. Why don't I just use StreamYard? Because I can't interface my hardware with that. There were some suggestions earlier on how to do that, so I'm still exploring this, which is why I'm kind of doing this whole thing today. It's really just it started out as an experiment and has now turned into a legitimate live stream. Joe Shearer, $4.99 on the super chat. Thanks, man. I will. I will absolutely do more stuff with Garrett Ceasing, the scooter guy. Yeah, he would be a great guest to have, because he has an extensive history as a technician, and he's now a business owner. So I really enjoy talking with him. He's one of those guys. He's just a gem of a guy. Dancing Alone, Power Stroke Jude, and the Old Tech Guy. They're interchangeable. They both use the same battery. Yeah, they do. You can't talk about one without talking about the other. Jonathan, check out. Let me post a link to his channel. There's a guy named Garrett Ceasing who used to be a technician that worked for the city of Austin, and he and I, he used to be a customer of mine, and then he and I had a really good relationship going, and he branched out on his own. He started his own shop because after he started his YouTube channel, and he and I started around the same time, he trying to do two things at once here. His YouTube channel started really taking off because he would do stuff about scooter repair. And those videos prompted him to think that there's a big enough market that he needs to start his own shop. So he did. And as a result, he's been learning a tremendous amount, and I think that the stuff we've been talking about here is stuff that he and I talked about. Check out his channel, but also check out the videos that I did with him. I did an interview video with him where we just kind of run through a bunch of different topics. I did a toolbox tour video and also a tool cart tour video. So it might be worth checking out just to get an idea of what he's all about. Nick at JDT Co. We have a celebrity in the house. Welcome, Nick. Yeah, I'm live by accident. I started out just trying to test some new software that I'm using with my video setup, and I accidentally went live. I thought I was just testing this and doing a private stream, but I was wrong. And when I saw Pat Paulsen commented and Anthony GM85 commented, I'm like, did I go live? And the next thing I knew, here we are. So for anyone who doesn't know Nick at JDT Co, he was who we were talking about before. Yeah, we were talking about you, Nick. Your ears must have been burning. I was saying how I admire your business model and the obvious level of energy that you bring to what you do and how you do it, and and the amount of work that it must take for you to shop your suppliers and grow those relationships and get your co-branded products or your third-party branded products in, and sourcing those things and juggling the truck with the storefront. It's a tremendous amount of work, and I admire what you do and how you do it. It's something that I'm working towards doing kind of myself someday. So, and then of course all your online sales and stuff. So, good on you, man. I really admire your ability to do all that stuff, because it can't be easy. By the way, how many guys do you have working? I know your son works today. I don't know how big your crew is though. How many guys you got in your company, Nick? Oh, thanks, Jonathan, on the congratulations for 3,000. Yeah, we just hit 3,100 today, as a matter of fact. So yeah, the channel's growing nicely. It's growing more now since I was involved in Jude and Ed's live streams. Forgive the barking dogs in the background, guys. I can't control them. And my subscription rate has doubled. So I think before all that, I was getting around 20 to 25 new subscribers a week, and now I'm up to like 40 and 50. So I'm seeing a level of growth that I can only attribute to some additional exposure. And guys like Jude and Ed, who have been very kind in having me on their live streams, and all you folks that I've met just for the first time through that kind of interaction have been very good for my channel. I really appreciate that. You get everyone who subscribed and watches and likes and comments. It means a lot, because if you don't know how that works, all the involvement that you give a channel reflects favorably in YouTube's algorithm. And when that does, YouTube serves up content to more things. Like it'll appear on the right-hand side of your suggested videos. It'll pop up in the video window as a suggested video, or on your homepage they'll serve it up as a suggested video. So it's the way that that content creators on YouTube get their stuff seen more and clicked on more. That conversion rate, the rate of how many times they've served up a suggested video and the amount of times people click on it, means a lot. And the more people do that, the more favorable it looks to YouTube, and the more they serve up your content. And the more you like it, the more comments, the more subscribers, that all counts. So I appreciate the involvement that everyone's been having for my channel too, and I know Ed and Jude also appreciate it. Country Mile Garage has had a channel for a while now, and he's doing good things, and there's a lot of activity here. This is a really cool community, and I'm very fortunate and grateful to be a part of it. Yeah, Raging Cajun says JD Coyle, the godfather of the tool industry. Jonathan, has this really been over 2 hours? I don't have. There's nothing I have in the software that I'm using to show how long we've been going live. Well, I hope it's 2 hours well spent. I don't know. It's kind of this, as live streams do, they sometimes take on a life of their own. And the sidebar chats have been great. There's been a lot of really cool conversation, and it's great to have these things. Yeah, Nick, we need to talk. I would love to see if you and I can do a live stream sometime. I've been thinking of ways to build the live stream portion up, and it'd be nice to have a live stream with a guest, and then have people ask questions in the chat, kind of like old time radio shows where you have a talk show and people call in. Same thing with the chat, and we can field questions and just kind of talk shop and maybe focus on a topic or two and just have it go from there. I'd love to do that. So if anyone has suggestions for topics, please put them in the chat. I'd love to see what they are. Nick, is that true though? Did you not? Were you not on YouTube prior to me starting my channel? Because if anyone took the lead from my early content, I have to apologize, because my early stuff, like a lot of us on YouTube, our early stuff is terrible, and it's only nothing short of a small miracle that we can grow a channel having started out with such crap content. Which is, you look back on the original stuff and you just go, oh God, that was pretty rough. Yeah, Theo, that would be cool. I'd love to set something up with Nick. Nick, was that for me? You want me to call the store, or was that for somebody else? Because I'll do that, no problem, if you want. Barking dogs in the background. We got one of our dogs. Is it? Hey Nick, does that sound familiar? Does that sound like Jasper? I bet Jasper is the same bark as my Mary, who's also a miniature dachshund. Oh, yeah, dude, that goes through me like nothing else. All right, Nick, I'll give a holler on Monday. Nick, I am absolutely honored that I'm the reason you started on YouTube. That blows me away, man. That's a weird one. It's cool. It's cool to learn in life in general. You know, the kind of influence that we can have, and because you don't know unless people tell you. It's nice to know that good things happen. You know, like that. And so thank you. I appreciate you sharing that knowledge, sharing what your experiences have been. And I appreciate that. Yeah, and Theo, some of the first videos, pictures of music, man, those are easy to put together. I know Diabolical 58 has a lot of his content like that, and he's got a good channel rolling, and you know, it's how a lot of us get going, because they're fairly simple formats to put together, and it takes us time to get used to, you know, having, you know, an on-air kind of persona. You got to get used to talking to a camera and not feeling weird about it. And yeah, so there's a lot of evolution that goes on in this. Yeah, a cat walked by, and want to see a cat video? Hold on. Oh, this is Karen. She's old. She'll run away for like a week at a time and then come back. The cat you saw in the background, he's about 10 years old now. He's huge. He's like, a 20-pound cat. But this is Cameron. And, all right, and the cat video has ended. Yeah, the cat behind my back was Austin. He was a great cat. He's just super friendly. And Nick, we've had Mary for at least 15 years. She's an old gal. She's blind in one eye now, but you wouldn't. Hold on one second. Mary, come here. 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 Mary, you not there? Oh. Trying to give her a live stream debut, but she won't have it. Mary, come here. Here we go. Here we go. Come on up. Come on up, little tat. Oh, yeah. This is Coyle Tools' answer to JD Tico's Jasper. Yeah, she's pretty gray. And she smells funny. But she's good. Good girl. Hasn't sold a tool yet, Nick. That's Jasper's gig. He's good at it. Oh, Dancing Alone. He would never stoop so low as to put a cat in my video. I know, it's shameless, isn't it? Shameless. Put dogs, cats, and if I had small children, they'd be in here too. Yeah, Jasper is a ham, isn't he? He poses really well. Mary doesn't pose at all. You bust out the camera, she gets shy and starts running away. And I don't know why. She can't possibly know what it is. But And as most of you know who watch my videos, I got roosters out in the yard that are loud. And every time I shoot a video outside, they are nonstop. And you can also hear them inside because they're not that far from the house. So when they get going, they get going. And my wife loves animals. She loves cats. She has always wanted chickens. And then we had the opportunity when we lived in New Hampshire, because everything was, there were no zoning laws in the town we lived. It was such a tiny little town. So we had chickens and we had some dogs, had 3 dogs. We've had 3 dogs for years now. And she loves the animals. So we have a ton of chickens. And the reason we have so many roosters was because here I am thinking, a couple of years ago, I'm going to be the greatest husband of all time and buy a Christmas gift for my wife that's an egg incubator. So we did, because she always wanted to try to hatch her own chicks. So I buy the incubator. Loves the gift. We get, at the time I think we had 1 rooster and a bunch of hens. So you're going to get fertilized eggs. So we did a round of hatching, and the incubator capacity is 7 eggs. We put 7 in there, all 7 hatched, and 4 of them are roosters. And if you don't know, you do not need a rooster except to make more chicks. Other than that, roosters are a liability. All they do is eat your food. They ravage the hens, and if you have too many roosters, your poor hens get so beat up. So like, well, what do we do? I don't know. Let's do another round of hatching. Another 7 eggs. All 7 hatched. 4 of them are roosters. So our rooster population has outnumbered our hen population. And what we had to do was we have a coop just for the hens, and they stay in the coop. And then we let the roosters, we have a coop for the roosters too, but they run around free during the day and do whatever they want. We're hoping that nature kind of runs its course and we cull the roosters. But over the past 2 years, we've only lost 3 roosters. So we still have a lot of roosters. So that's why there's a lot of roosters in the property. That's why you hear them crowing all the time in my videos. You guys are cracking me up with the comments. Theo, it's interesting that you mentioned that, and Nick. While I don't have a fundamental issue eating chickens that we've raised, somebody else does. So I don't think we could do that. Plus, they're not good eating chickens because they're layers and they don't have much meat on them. Roosters tend to be kind of tough, is my understanding. I've never eaten one. Years ago, I used to turkey hunt when we lived in New Hampshire, and man, deep fried wild turkey is spectacular. I've never eaten a rooster though, one that we raised. So. Oh, dancing alone. You know, that's funny that you mentioned that. I don't mean funny as in comedy, because it's not. We had a dog. He was a husky wolf hybrid. Greatest dog in the world. This guy was 1 in a million. And he, just the nicest, kindest, smartest dog you'd ever want to know. But man, was he ambitious and energetic. You could not keep him locked in or out of anything. Like he learned how to open all the doors in the house. He tore apart our fences to get on the outside of them. Nothing would keep this dog in. And he loved to kill chickens. And we didn't know that about him. The first time we raised chickens, we got a bunch of chicks. We put this little brooder set up for them. And my wife was getting them all set up. She puts all the chicks in the brooder, turns her back for about a minute, and comes back, and all the chicks are dead. And she's just out of her mind because she really loves chickens. And she's a very emotional person. So all the chicks are dead, and she's just losing it. She's like, I don't know what happened. I just turned my back for a few minutes. And they said, well, the dog must have eaten them. And, we're looking at our dog, and he's just the nicest dog in the world. You don't want to think he'd be a chicken killer, but, man, this dude would kill chickens like nothing else. One winter day, I come home. We built a barn detached from the house, and there was snow all over the place. So everything was white, including our dog, right? And we had a pretty big flock of chickens, and we had this one humongous black barred rock rooster. I don't know they've ever seen a rooster as tall as this guy was. He came up mid-thigh on you. He was huge. And he was kind of a jerk, though, and he'd go after you a little bit, but, So one day I'm coming home from work, and I turn in my driveway, and I had a long driveway, the one I went up to the top of where the house was on the hill. And everything's snow covered, right? So I see the dog come running from behind the barn because he heard me coming in the driveway. And he was the happiest I've ever seen him. Turns the corner, and I see all in his mouth and down his chest and all in the front of his arms covered in blood. I'm like, oh, the dog got into something. So I get to the top of the driveway, and my wife she's so mad. I said, what happened? And she said, the big rooster got out of the coop. I guess the story as she tells it, she went in the coop, and this rooster was a jerk. So the rooster comes flying right at her head. She ducks. This thing goes right over her head, right into the awaiting jaws of our dog. So she was mad, but she got over it pretty quick because she didn't like the rooster that much. And the dog had a great meal for himself. Happiest guy I've ever seen. Thank you, Nick. I just saw your comment. I will absolutely call you Monday. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. Have a terrific weekend. Enjoy your date night. I'll talk to you later. Hey, Daniel. If you're addressing that to me, no, nothing slowed down. We've been just as busy as always, and in fact, I put in a fairly big order this week for stuff I have to deliver next week. So we're expecting not only no slowdown, but an uptick in business. So things are picking up. And I don't know any shops that are slow right now either. One of last week's live streams, or a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, Tool Guy Ty asked what we've seen for business in the Austin, Texas area where it's growing so much. And it is growing so much here that every shop is slammed. And when they're slammed, I'm slammed. So it's all good. It's just a lot of stuff to keep up with. Yeah, Joe, Huskies, I don't know if all Huskies are like that. I kind of tend to believe they are. That they are true predators. And, you throw a wolf hybrid in the mix, they're going to have a prey drive that, your average dog may or may not have. But I know a lot of dogs will kill chickens and rabbits. We had cats. We lived in a place that has a ton of rabbits. And our cats would take out the rabbits pretty quick. And the dogs we have now don't kill chickens. We have one who is a Pyrenees blue heeler mix. Her dad was the Pyrenees, her mom was the heeler. And we got her out of the shelter 4 years ago. And the fortunate thing is, Pyrenees are livestock protectors by nature. So she doesn't kill the chickens. And one of our other dogs is Mutt. I think he's a shepherd mix, I don't know. And he also, for some reason, will not kill the chickens. So we're fortunate that right now the chickens are safe with our dogs, but of course, there's plenty of other dogs that once they know you got chickens, the occasional dog will, run away from his home and come here and take out a chicken or two. Yeah. Yeah, Joe, you're right. I mean, they're in our case, where our chickens are our pets and they're not, we don't raise them for livestock. That it's a bummer when they die. It's unfortunate, but it's just part of having pets and animals in your life. And, I mean, it never gets easier, but you get used to it. It's something that you kind of accept as the consequence of owning pets. Is it gonna either have to put them down or they're gonna pass on you? So it's a shame, but it happens. Oh yeah, there's the cat. Where is he? Did he leave? Oh, he jumped down. He's on the floor now. That's Austin. And then I got Cameron right here, off camera. All right, everybody. What I'm going to do is this. Post my email address. If any of you have suggestions for topics that you think would be good to cover in a live stream, in kind of like a talk show format where it's me and a guest or two in the stream, and then we'll field comments from the chat and comments and questions from the chat and have that kind of spur the conversation. I'd love to, and I'd love to get your suggestions. So drop me an email if you would, if you have any suggestions for content. I'd love to do that. I don't know how frequent I would do them. Depends on how often we can get a guest going. But even something like this is pretty sustainable. I mean, this has been a very good conversation. And ranging, yes, of course, I'd love to be one of your tool guys. You just let me know what I can do for you. Email me or call me with what you need, and I'll quote you out pricing and stuff. Don't go by the pricing on my online store because I have to update that. And it has such a small subset of the total product that I have available to me anyway. So just let me know what it is that you do need. So thanks, guys, for joining. I'm going to call it for the night because I also have to still go make dinner. Oh, Ian, just come on board. Ian, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm just signing off. We've been going at it for, it's got to be 3 hours on a live stream, but I accidentally started. So I got to go make dinner. I got some homemade ravioli I got to cook. I got the pasta dough done. Now I just got to make the filling. And we'll have that with some homemade bread. So I'm going to go do that. I can't thank you all enough for joining in. It's been fun. And I got some great suggestions from guys and ways that I can work out the kinks I'm having with some software issues that I'm discovering and ways to do better in the live stream. So thank you very much for those suggestions. Yeah, sorry, Ian. I'll try to publicize too when they're going to happen again. This one again, it was impromptu, so I didn't have a chance to get the word out. Thanks, Theo. Good stream. Thank you for joining in and participating. I appreciate the chat. Joe Shearer, thank you. Daniel, Dancing Alone with Rentals. Of course, Pat Paulsen. Nick from JDT Co. Thank you all so much. Who else do I have to thank? Jonathan Sherwood. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. And Raging Cajun, of course. One of the regulars on live chats. Great to hear from you and see you. Thank you to Joe and Pat Paulsen for the super chats. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And I think I pretty much covered everybody. Howie Z was in the chat for a good long time. Thank you for, the conversation. Jason LeCreux, really appreciate seeing you. Rail9222, thank you very much. It's been a great day. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me on this live stream, and we'll do it again. I just have to, we'll just put some structure to it. And in the meantime, if you have suggestions, please drop me a note at lindsay@coyletools.com. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great night.